Hi there. Okay, this is just a quick video, a quick tip about being at minus 12 decibels as a starting point for your mixes. So I'm going to show a couple of different ideas. In this one, I'm just going to run through sort of the intro of this track. This is an unreleased track, so I'm not going to play the whole track at the moment. It's a remix of an old track that I made 15 years ago. What I'm going to do is just show you how the kick itself is set up. It's a sample, a little bit of EQ, utility just to drop it into mono, and then a little bit of saturation, no drive, just saturation added to the kick. Now, the kick itself is at minus 12 decibels, the starting point of the sample. However, the kick is just at minus 1, just to give a little bit of headroom, but there's still headroom. If you listen to the kick on its own, and then if I put that up to 0, I could then go back to minus 7 here, maybe, or minus 12. So either way, all I've done is just switch the volume round, so that's output is a 0, and then the channel headroom there is at minus 12. So that's where you guys kind of might get confused on sometimes. Sometimes it's the output of the actual instrument itself can be boosted or just left as set, and then you've got control here. But just remember that your channel gain is more of a visual point than seeing minus 12 here. So you may forget about this point, but you physically only see this, and then of course you're only seeing minus 1 of headroom. So it could be the point of just setting this to 0, and then I'm going to go down to about minus 11 because of the minus 1 decibel difference. So I'm going to go back to minus 1 and then have a listen and check to see if I prefer the other way around. And as long as I know that, I remember that in the mix. Minus 12. Now to me that's slightly better. There's less bottom end distortion on the kick, and I've got more of the punch coming through. So let me double check. Minus 11, 0. Yeah, see, the kick sounds more distorted. So this is the most important thing to get right. The start of your mix. Excuse me. Wow, sorry about that. Okay, the next point again is then obviously bass line, or in this occasion, let's go back to the mix and sort of loop around this section. Okay, so again the ride sample. Where's that gone? There it is. Okay, so again you can see pitch of the ride sample minus 12. Though it says kick, it is actually a ride. And the channel is set to 0, so again that's minus 12 decibels. It's loud enough. You listen to the kick and the ride on its own. Now I will quickly just show you the master. I'll take the master off. I've got a bit of mid-side EQ there, but I have got this chain on as well. I've got a stereo enhanced master, and I've got a bit of SSL stereo imaging as well. Okay, so I'll just turn that off. You hear the difference. What I've got here is just a bit of glue compression, and obviously the kick itself, there's also a little bit of processing or automation, a filter on, so obviously we get here. Okay, so see what I've done. Just literally change the sustain of the kick, so it's shorter kick on the intro, and then more of the boom coming in. That's the kick sustain. Okay. Any other elements? We've got some effects and the original sample from my original track. Again, this is at minus 2 decibels. This is actual audio, so this is breaking all of the minus 12 decibel rule. However, you'll see why with the effects coming down. So I'm just going to play this. Okay, so you can see that's about minus 10.9. It's perfect in a mix. It's a case of just adjusting things how I want, and that's your starting point of minus 12. Okay, again here, what I've got is a self-made effect. Taking the original sample and running it through a few different delay units with some LFOs. Okay, so you can see the starting point is about minus 11. You need 12 decibels, and then I'll bring that up to just below so to increase the intensity. So you can see how it's important to have your volumes down at -12 always as a starting point, introduction into the mix. Even if you bring a new sample in or anything, just drop it down into the mix to start with. Whether you use the volume control, in this case I have to, or the sample control here. Just be mindful of where you can control the volumes, and then you can automate to suit. Again, if you bring in an instrument in, so this for example, okay, you can see that the output's quite high. It's very weak sound. I haven't compressed it. I haven't added any saturation to it. I may do. It's just I'm actually really happy with just the way it sounds and cuts in the mix. It's just a kind of sort of a wobbly, buzzy kind of sound I was looking for. So. Just going to put the limiter back on. And all the limiter's doing is just giving a little bit of attenuation here, just the threshold. I'm looking for a nice average RMS, no more than -3 on some of the peaks. And again, so for example, some instruments, again, I'm just using the natural sound of the instrument. I mean, I could go in and probably cut some of the lows out of this with EQ again. But I'm happy with the way it all sits in the mix, and it's obviously preferable choice and taste. But there are some rules. If it sounds good, don't touch it. If it sits in the mix and it works, it works. If it doesn't, then you may need to try and sculpt with EQ and volume and gain, saturation. Adding a little bit of saturation to sounds is great. For example, we could go do it to this. I always start with a bit warmer. Just take apply the sound without the LFO tool. Okay, that's quite a nice bit of harmonic actually. Okay, so I'm obviously on headphones at the moment. They are Sennheiser earbuds, so they're pretty good. But obviously, I'd have to listen to that on the studio system as well to make sure that it's not just pushing too much. Because obviously, I've added just over 6 decibels of increase. Hence, I've dropped it back a little bit here. Probably should go back to about -6 actually. Okay, so it's really just to suit really and to taste. I'm gonna say what I'll do now is I'll just make those quick save changes, and I will load in a blank. Just to show you a sort of starting point with a kick drum. If you're using a drum machine rather than a sample. Maybe actually, I'll tell you what, I'll load a track. This is a track using the Nicky Romero kick drum. I'm actually using the default analog kick because it was just what I was looking for. I do actually need to drop some of the sustain off that at the start, but I'm still working on this track, so the intro's not quite right, but the rest of the track I'm happy with. You can see that's nearly -6. There's a bit of drive on the sound as well. So I'm kind of just going with what feels right to me. So instead of starting at -12 with this one, I started at nearly -6 decibels, which I will go to, just so I've got set. Okay, so you can see that I've got -3, and I've also got some getting saturation on at +4 decibels. So actually that's +1. I'm compressing it and then side chaining the sound. The sound itself is quite low. The outputs are quite low, but it's got quite a big sound. So again, it's a case of listening to the sound and kind of then adjusting what you think is right in the mix. Adding saturation will bring out the sound and harmonics. Again, I've actually used no EQ on this sound because I didn't want to at the time. If I think it's what I'm looking for, that's what I'm looking for. So I'll solo that and just play that. Okay, so you can see the pads here are minus 13 because they're very loud and they're even low in the mix, so it's a very big sound. If I go to 0. Again, minus 6 decibels. Quite low in the mix, but quite a big brassy sound with the filter open, filter closed. Okay, so I've just sort of shown you sort of mixes in and out and listening to things and starting at minus 12, going back up to minus 6. Rule of thumb, just use your ears. White noise, very loud. These are white noise effects that are made in Logic, just with white noise and putting a pitch on there and then sampling it and then pitch shifting it. So you can see when I start off, now watch your ears on this. So I'm going to put this back to 0. Well, play it first. Okay, so I won't play that long. Undo that. You can see white noise, very, very loud. So very subtle in the mix, -20. Could even go lower. Okay, so again, it's kind of just really some starting blocks with your kick drums, and then really balance stuff into the mix, and use your ears. But as I say, I always have some form of mastering on, and then I take it off, even if I sort of group the whole chain. Just going to group that. I could turn it on and off when I want to. And all my mastering chain is really is just to sort of gauge what it would be like when a mastering engineer masters the track for me. If I pass it on, I could probably self-master it, but it is always better if you can try and pass it to a professional to master it as well. So all I'm doing is just making sure that I'm not clipping with the final limiter. Which I've got here and here. I've got there, yeah, just got a fast limiter on the very end of the chain. Okay, that, as I say, is just purely to give me a reference point, but then obviously I've set it 0. If I was going to send this off for mastering, what I would probably do is I would obviously take off the mastering chain. I'd listen to the mix at 0. I'd see how much headroom I'm clipping. Okay, so you can see what I've done there. I've given myself down now to -10 decibels of headroom and made sure it's not clipping or peaking by keep on resetting the peak meter. And that's it. That's what I can do then to send off to the mastering engineer. I know that he can bring that mix up. I was only checking that to see how it cleaned the mix. Obviously, if I had my own mastering, I would have to bring the channel back up to 0 because I've adjusted the settings on all of the tools here to suit the 0 decibels. But obviously, I've listened to the mix afterwards, seen how much I'm peaking over, and then I'm adjusting my mix back down, ready for a mastering engineer to then sort of play with this headroom. I hope that makes sense to a lot of you. It's very difficult to try and explain the whole process in such a short space of time, purely because I don't have the resources to explain it to every single one of you individually. But if you've got any questions, please do ask. You can contact me, and I'll put the information where you can contact me in the information in the YouTube video. Okay, thanks for that. So this is my first proper video, and hopefully there will be more to come. Okay, take care. Bye bye.